Wired Unplugged.
Hello everyone, welcome to Wired Unplugged, episode 9. This isn't a musical episode, I was just very jovial because my valiant co-host Aaron Cooper is back in the building, baby. 1 year older.
I am now 42. Yes.
Yeah.
I think it should become. We should do a musical episode like Buffy.
I watched
Best
Buffy for
episode,
the very
actually.
first time over the last 6 or 7 months. My wife's a
really?
super fan, and I'd
First
never
time
seen
ever.
It. First time ever. Yeah. And I actually I'm going to quickly make an allusion to our this week's special guests. Last night, me and my wife watched the Swedish horror romance film Let the Right One In. And all things Swedish and horror, well, there's a little reason I'm bringing it up, and it's because in a few minutes, well, not in a few minutes, in about 25, 30 minutes, who knows how long we're going to be talking about, Angry Demon Studios will be joining us to talk about their game, Gori, Cuddly Carnage, which was very freshly announced. Freshly announced doesn't quite seem right, but I didn't want to say freshly squeezed, so I had to go with announced. We'll talk about that in just a little bit. But Aaron, how was your time away from the Wired Unplugged podcast?
It was good. I ate many varieties of cake. I actually had a birthday cake, and it was a surprise cake, and it was Kirby. It was Kirby.
Brilliant. That you know what as well.
So good.
Can I just tell you? Right. So first of all, if you use Twitter, you can actually follow Wired by finding us at Wired P for production. But you can also find Aaron on Twitter. And the last conversation I had with Aaron, I can't remember how much of it was on air, but there was a lot of Kirby noises. And then to see that birthday cake, and to see the birthday cake being Kimmy, I was like, my little guy, he's having such a good time. so
it was a great surprise, man. Honestly, I was like, oh my god, it's Kirby.
We did it, and so yes, Steve came and held the fort for us last week. So you actually missed a brand new segment where it's like the interview segment, but we just interview streamers. It's going to be called Streamer Stories because everyone has, I guess a lot of people these days. My daughter, she's 11 this year, and in school, all of the kids want to be YouTubers. They want to be influencers. They don't want to be footballers anymore. They want to be YouTubers. So these people who manage to do it, there's all these various means of doing it. Like, how did they get there? Well, we'll bring some on, and luckily we know quite a few, don't we, Aaron? So
yeah, a few here and there around the world.
Exactly. So look,
you had Stefan.
I had Steph. She's one of my favorite people in the whole wide world, and also a streamer. So that's very handy. So yeah, very very good. And we spoke about anime and all sorts of things. And it's a shame that you went there in a way because it's a lot of Nintendo. That's the big crossover there, I think. Yeah.
I like a bit of anime.
Yeah, dabble.
Yeah,
well, we'll find more about that next week at PAX. Well, before we get into that, I'd just like to let everybody know that, like I say, later on, we'll be interviewing Angry Demon Studios. We're talking all things gory. We're talking about taking off the restraint of horror minimalism and cats and unicorns. So if you have a question for us in the meantime, other than why, because that'll be answered shortly, you can email us. It's unplugged@wiredproductions.com. That's unplugged@wiredproductions.com. Or you can tweet us. Somebody did email in with just
to be fair, I saw this and I wanted to bring it up. Someone sent an email. What a great time! Besides all of the, we're obviously getting sponsorship deals from Gucci, air quotes.
Yeah.
But there was someone called Broken Vegetable. Dropped an email.
Yeah.
They ask a question, but that's great because the text was, and I think it was to you and Steve, to be honest.
Yeah.
It was, hello there. It's my Obi-Wan. Hello there. You are amazing. That's it. That's the email. We're happy with that. But if you have a question as well.
Thank you, Broken Vegetable. My Twitter is going to be a Broken Vegetable fan account from now on. And I'd like to, before we get into things, I'd just like to send a huge apology to all of the Welsh gamers out there for my slander last week where I said no one cares if you called Welsh Gamer. And then Steve tagged about 20 people who were called Welsh Gamer. And I nearly got run out of my own country. So thanks, Steve, and sorry to all of the Welsh gamers out there.
Seriously, there are some powerful Welsh gamers out there, Jake.
That's going to be my new Twitter bio, I think.
Yeah. I'm surprised you're not being hunted down by like Gav Murphy or something like
I know,
that.
exactly. Yeah, he's got to come up north for that, so he won't make the effort. Right, okay, so let's 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 swing right into Wired Propaganda, because there's actually we've got a post-mortem coming up, and we're gonna look ahead because, well, I'll say no more. Let's run the rhythm.
Wired Propaganda.
Well, there we go. I got a bit ahead of myself there because there's some very exciting Wired Propaganda to go through, but it's not up to me. It's up to our Minister of Propaganda, Aaron Cooper, who is back to give us the
From
so,
outer
Aaron,
space.
What have you got?
So let's clear this off. We were at WASD. We've been talking about WASD, getting WASD, going to WASD, and we got WASD. Jake, you were there.
I was that on the scene.
How was it? Like, we're gearing up for several shows now, which is exciting to be back in the thick of it. But how did it feel to be there? How was the show?
Okay, so I can say this because I'm in a safe place. It was busier than EGX. Yeah,
Busier than EGX Rest, or busier than
the last one?
EGX? Wow. Okay. Oh yeah. Sorry, I was there. Sorry, I know what you mean.
Yeah. So EGX happened last year. Now, amidst the throes of a pandemic, which is still currently going on. However, we're kind of seeing, well, our government in the UK wants us to believe it's over. So we're getting on with things, and we're going out and about. So the EGX did happen though a few months ago, which is the largest gaming convention in the UK, and the attendance was, for one reason or another, probably a huge amount of reasons, to be honest, quite thin. Well, WASD, which is for those who are unaware, maybe those who are outside of the UK, it is the sort of equivalent of the now cancelled EGX Rest, which is kind of like the spin-off series of EGX. It was the indie-focused one that happened in Tobacco Docks. So that's no longer
lovely venue.
A lovely venue.
Yeah, it's got a ship outside.
Yeah, it's crazy, but it's really nice. So yeah, it was cancelled. So a team of people decided to make their own Rest, and they did, and it was called WAS, and it happened, and it went really well. Like, can I just say, first of all, as a boring convention goer who looks at all these sorts of things, they had all of the right things in. There was lots of space. The food wasn't just cheeseburger and chips for £12. They had good street food. They had bao buns, and they had bratwurst, and they had loads of options. They had good vegan options, good normal options or whatever. So they had lots of
vegan's normal.
Yeah, it is now. It is.
Burger King. They've got their meatless.
Yeah. Glad that we. So I had a tofu bao bun. It was ace and fairly priced, and I got to see our very own Tegan and Gary on the Wired booth. I was really happy as well. That the Wired booth was kind of popping. It was quite popular. There was a bit of AAA presence there. There was 2K there, Sega and that. But there was a big indie room where they got all of the hardworking indie developers and publishers together and in a coliseum and made them battle it out. But Wired had and I really mean this, they're right in the heart of the room, right in the middle. So you were pretty much destined to go there, and it was busy. And I wanted to see which game was the most popular. So I say, I tell you what was getting a lot of love, but legit, and I'm not just saying this to be nice. They really were all getting love, and it was very, very nice. The first day I went was the Thursday, so I imagine a lot of people probably wouldn't have booked a day off work for a brand new festival that they didn't even know, how it was. But it was and I went right in the morning because I was at the BAFTAs later on in the evening. So I was at the working, by the way, not you
look swanky though, mate. So.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you very much, man. Yeah. So I was there at the beginning, and it was funny because it was a bit you had to try and look at someone and guess if they were a developer or just a regular WASD-goer. But by the Friday, I was only there for a couple of hours. It was way busier, and it was a lovely thing to see. And it's what it's all about for me. I love that, and it was great because you know what it is as well. I know I sound like such an old person, but you saw all these students, and it was parents taking their kids around playing the games and stuff. Not Martha is dead, but there was seeing just people out there playing games, and I guess you don't, you play a game yourself and you enjoy it. But when you're a developer or publisher or whatever, it's good to see other people playing and enjoying the games, and I love that. I love it when somebody like a teenager will ask a question about the game, and a developer's having the time of their life. They're finally
Yeah.
getting to explain this tree that they've spent 16 hours making an Unreal Engine to somebody who actually cares.
It's like me and the cows all
Yeah,
over again.
no, exactly. No, honestly, so I love that because you get to see, like, developers get to see that reward and stuff. And also, though, the beauty of it is it's a little bit, it's not launch for a lot of these games, so there's still opportunity to tweak. So they get good user feedback from people who aren't just trying to be experts and stuff like that. So yeah, it was good spacing.
It's good to see. It's good to see the events coming back, and I've got a bit of FOMO about not being there. But hey, cake. But I think there's something wonderful about events where, you know, when you go along with no expectations, and when it's been a while, the discoverability of just being able to check out who's working on what cool things are littered about that.
Yeah.
You know, because let's be honest, in terms of marketing for games and stuff, it's all had to go heavily digital during lockdown, COVID, this era of time.
Yeah.
And it is hard for cool games to get noticed. So to be able to discover those things in the flesh and see people having a good time with something, and you're like, oh, that might spark me to have a go. It's good.
Exactly.
It's good
There
to be
needs
back.
to be some sort of like happenstance, and like just like you stumble upon things. Whereas with digital events, everything is very intentional, and like, you know, you're not really going to be going through the Steam latest release lists. You're not,
Yeah.
are you?
No.
But in these things, there's a bit of curation by the fact that they've been invited, but there's still so much to discover. So it was great, and you know, like I mentioned, the boring convention bits, like the food, like there was a zone, a chill out zone, and there was like actually enough seats for everybody, despite it being busy. And there was coffee there that wasn't £2.50. Like, it was actually good quality coffee for cheap, which is like the number one thing I'm interested in at any convention. So
if there are any coffee sponsors out there, get in touch with Unplugged.
Please do. Yeah, packed coffee, we'll take that, thanks. So actually, it was brilliant. But I feel like this was a little bit of an appetizer, because next week
I get to not miss out. We're going to be in the flesh together. Dangerous.
Yeah.
But yeah, PAX is happening. We're finally there. We're getting to the point of everything's being packed up. It's being shipped over to Boston, including us. Hopefully we get put in roomy boxes, but we'll see.
Yeah. Air holes, please, guys.
Yeah, air holes. Just a few. Come on. That's my Kirby
Kirby
again. Kirby gotta breathe. But we're going to be at PAX. A lot of the games that we had at WASD WASD are going to be there. But there is one more, and I'll get to that shortly. We teased previously that we had a new game that we're going to show. Jake, you've mentioned it at the top. The people we're talking to, they are behind. They gave birth to this really unique, bizarre, cool, badass game.
Yeah.
And we'll talk more about that in a bit. But we're going to have Bluemote, the Massimote Chronicles there, Tin Hearts, Arcade Paradise, Martha is Dead, Tiny Troopers, and then this new game. But also, we're going to be doing a panel. We're going to be doing this, but live in front of people. And that's going to be on Friday, April 22nd, I believe, if memory serves me correctly, at 4:30 p.m.
It is.
The Spider Theatre, the Arachnid
Theatre.
So
yeah.
It would be great if any of you in the US or people traveling do come and check it out. It'd be good to see you all in the flesh, and you can watch this happen live.
And I guess if not, we're going to try and record it so you can listen to it in the bath or in the gym or whatever.
It definitely will be recorded.
Yeah, brilliant. So
that's covered.
So there we go. So yeah, if you can't get the real thing, you can have the packaged and edited version afterwards. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to it, and it's going to be great to see what, you know, they've got up their sleeves at PAX. Like Waz really gave me a taste for it. Like, I was like, this is what it's all about, and just bumping into people, and just, gosh, it's good to be outside sometimes. So
haven't seen you for 2 years. Oh
yeah, that's you know, there's only so many conversations I can have about box sets, to be honest. But gosh, I've still got the energy, so I'm going to try. So PAX,
have you heard of this thing called Buffy?
Well, this is what I mean. It's time to catch up. So I watched Buffy, and I got my wife to watch The Sopranos. So like, it is that time.
That's a fair trade.
You see what I mean?
Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
Right, cool. So yeah, why don't we talk a little bit about the big news, which is, again, for those listening, alluding to the interview segment.
So the cat is already out of the bag.
That's got to be the title of this podcast. That's too
yeah,
good.
the cat is out of the bag. So we have just announced Gory, Cuddly Carnage. And we have the developers on who are going to talk about the game very shortly, so I'm not going to go too in depth. But the best way to explain it in a nutshell, imagine if you took like Jack and Daxter Ratchet and Clank and smashed it together with Jet Set Radio, but made it just really bizarre and out there. Very action driven, Cuddly Carnage. And the devs are going to explain that much better than me. I don't want to spoil their moment. But it's very exciting. It's a unique and slightly different game for Wired, but it matches everyone's personality. I think everyone's very looking forward to working on this one.
Yeah, it's funny because, and I won't rehash any of the stuff that I've recorded for the interview, but what I will say is I was very surprised to find out in the interview the lore. Because there's lore, baby. There's actually a reason behind, like, why is there a cat with a hoverboard, like, decapitating, like, mutant unicorns. I was actually, like, quite invested in the story, and I learned something very interesting in the interview about a banned children's toy. Very, very interesting. So, yeah, that's coming
Stick
up.
around.
Yeah, stick around because you are going to want to know why, right? Okay, so yeah, more on that in just a little bit, but there's one final bit of Wired propaganda before we take things wider.
Yeah, so as you know, Martha is Dead is out in the wild, and one of the core features of the games is it gives you a very realistic photography mode where you can use an accurate camera in the game and take photos, develop them, and so on in a proper dark room. But we want to bring that outside the game, so we're actually giving away one of the cameras from Martha is Dead, a real physical roller cord camera. Which is up for grabs. So we're giving away a camera and a whole bundle of proper photography accessories as well. So you can get your time appropriate photographer on. And essentially all you have to do is play the game, take a screenshot, and then share it with Wired on Twitter at WiredP using hashtag MarthaPhotoComp. So if you have the game, get involved, take some nice screenshots in the game, send them to Wired, and you might be in with a chance of winning this beautiful antique.
It's definitely a sort of collector's item. There's a lot of really cool stuff. I was looking at some. I've never heard of one of these before, Rollercoid. So I was looking, and like, there's loads and loads and loads of like, I don't know, like articles compiling like the most popular models, and they were like all built to last because it was just like around the war and stuff like that. So they were like they're really insane looking things, and they're really, really, really like cool. So there's
Matthew Punter in the office. Hi, Matthew. He's big on his photography, and he's been able to take one out of the office and try it out and stuff. And I think he's having a blast with it. I think all of his dreams have come true.
So you can find out more information about that in case Aaron's comprehensive explanation wasn't enough and you like to read by going on Twitter at WiredP. For productions.
Yeah.
Thank you. So, also P for propaganda. And this concludes this week's Wired Propaganda segment. Thank you very much, Aaron. Let's take it global, baby.
News we stole from Google.
And the internet at large. Because there's other search engines available. This is sponsored by DuckDuckGo. It's not.
And Lycos.
Yeah. If you want to let us know your favorite redundant search engine, you can email in at unplugged@wiredproductions.com or tweet us at wiredp for production.
Internet Explorer.
Yeah. What's it called now? Microsoft Edge.
Yeah. Microsoft Edge.
All right, cool. So we got...
I think you two fans.
Yeah. So, right. The world has been moving. The world is still turning despite you being away from me. And there's been news that have been, I don't know, popping up on my timeline and stuff like that. I think like what I found on my Twitter timeline, which is where I get all my news from, very dangerous and very silly, is that most people are kind of getting towards the end of Elden Ring now. So like it's like a lot of like late game Elden Ring tweets and stuff like, oh my gosh, isn't Lania
Look at my armor. It's like, oh
Yeah,
yeah,
it is.
great,
Yeah,
great. It's a
look
fashion show now. It's like,
yeah,
I'm
exactly. Fashion Souls has finally hit us. But there's been some pretty exciting news, especially if you're kind of a Nintendo head, I would say. So
yeah.
I don't know. Take it from the top on. What have you brought for us this week?
So over the weekend, just gone, Square Enix pulled a Rockstar and decided to announce a game on a Sunday because why not? Why not? Who doesn't love a game announcement on a Sunday? And they came full on out and said, "Hey, here is a first look at Kingdom Hearts 4." Now, to me, Kingdom Hearts 3 is quite recent.
Yeah, about
Yeah, yeah,
2017 or something, maybe 18.
yeah. It's people. It still feels quite fresh, but here they are saying, "Hey, Kingdom Hearts 4, here's a gameplay, here's a trailer / mix with gameplay." I did some air quotes there because I'm not sure on
Gameplay.
if it's exactly gameplay.
Yeah.
But let's be honest, it looks incredible what they've shown, and they've said that the plan is to port over to Unreal Engine 5 during development, so it's going to look even better, run even better, and so on. And for those who haven't seen it, do watch the trailer because it does look very nice. But it's Kingdom Hearts has Kingdom Hearts as a series anyway has been fueled and mixed with Disney, right? So you have the main protagonists, they go into the Disney worlds, they team up with characters from those worlds like Genie, like Goofy, Donald Duck, and people like that, right? So it's a very cartoony game, Final Fantasy mixed with Disney. That's essentially the aesthetic. But this trailer is actually gone 360, turned everything on its head, and it's got a very ultra realistic real world setting, which I think I guess it has to anyway, but it's kind of like the surprise ending of Kingdom Hearts 3, right? Where there's this real world and so on. But it looks great. There are people who are mentioning that because of the real world aesthetic, shall we say, that this might tackle a lot of the live action Disney stuff, and they already did that in previous games with like Pirates of the Caribbean, but it was still and that looked good, but it was still mixed with the style to a degree.
It's almost like a cartoony quality, you'd say, right? Whereas this,
and I saw something very interesting, which makes total sense. One of the shots in the trailer is of a really dense-looking green forest, and then someone paused a shot at one point and zoomed in.
Very good
and
internet detective work, this, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And what looks like the foot module of an AT-ST from Star Wars is seen.
Yep.
So alluding to that could be Endor.
And honestly, it's very, very convincing, right? Like, if it's not the foot of an AT-ST, what is it? Like, it's really convincing to the point where it's like, well, of course they would do that. Of course they would do that. And so, this opens up the question, like, how much are we getting into the Marvel verse, the Star Wars stuff? Because like that is the next evolution of this sort of thing, isn't it? Really, I think that's like the total play to make, because it's like, whoa, like there's some people that are into all this like Doctor Strange malarkey, and they're going to be like, what's this Kingdom Hearts? And then they're going to be trapped in a 900-hour gameplay loop void where they need to play Kingdom Hearts 1, 1.5 remix, HD.
Birth by Sleep.
Yeah, exactly.
356 under 2.5187, or whatever it's called. I don't know. Dream Drop Distance. I don't know that one.
Exactly. So good luck to all of the Doctor Strange fans.
But I do wonder if that tact has been taken to, because the impression I get is that if you work with Disney and their cartoon licenses and properties like Mickey Mouse and things, they are super protective over those.
Right.
And, there are very specific things that you can and can't do with, the way something is colored, animated,
can't stab Mickey to death.
Daffy Duck wouldn't fall like this. He would fall like this, the cartoony floating moment and things. So I wonder if this has been done because there is more leeway in terms of speeding up the development of saying, okay, we can do more quickly with these properties in the real world. setting.
Mm,
And I wonder if it's
yeah.
speed essence. I say that, but you know, along with the trailer, there was no time frame released for the game, no date,
No,
no nothing.
and I wonder, I don't want to be too much of a sort of conspiracy theorist, but I wonder how much of it's down to like uh,
Mm,
Unreal Engine. Have you noticed that like nearly every big game announcement involves like, oh, and we're using Unreal Engine 5? I really do wonder.
yeah.
Look, I'm not being a conspiracy theorist. Actually, I'm just saying this is like a weird angle to have, probably, but it's very likely because this is like you need to get in early and announce. Look, we've just done this big showcase for Unreal Engine 5. We need to show people that all the tastemakers, all the big guns are using it, and that'll get people to start their development of it. So it can ensure we've got a roster of games out in the next 4 or 5 years. So I
Mm.
reckon it's probably more to do with a deal like that because it's
Yeah.
not really like them to be showing off a game this early for seemingly no reason on a Sunday. Like, you know what I mean?
The one thing I will say though, I mean, Kingdom Hearts 3 was shown a significant time before that was released. Like, it's not usual with Square in general, but Kingdom Hearts has it has had very early reveals
Mhm.
in the past. But I do think what you said, they are related. The Sunday timing makes no sense. I know it's for an anniversary
Well,
celebration, but
yeah. Well, this is a whole conversation in itself, really. But I noticed there was it? I don't know how to pronounce it, Saifu or Sifu. They had
Sifu,
they
yeah,
had the review embargo drop on a Sunday. Remember that Pokemon Scarlet and Violet? It was Scarlet, wasn't it?
yeah, yeah,
Violet's
yeah.
my daughter's name, so that's how I remember that. But
Scarlet and
it was
Violet.
that was announced on a Sunday, right? It was like a seemingly random thing.
Actually, yeah, yeah. I think you're right because yeah, I was definitely not at work.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, probably for the best, isn't it? See,
Yeah.
so this is what I mean. Like Sunday's becoming more of a thing, which
Mm.
is like probably really annoying for the media that try to work Monday to Friday. Content
Yeah.
creators, they're eating. Like, let's just put it that way. Like they're happy. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
but I guess there is something in it though, because we mentioned earlier about hey, a lot of things turning digital,
Yeah,
but maybe the methodology of distributing that content hasn't also fed along with that. Because
I
if you think
agree.
about it,
Yeah.
there are so many more people available in free on a weekend.
I've always thought this.
Yeah,
Cause I work in influencer relations, right? So like,
are you?
I'm, yeah. I actually tried. I don't mention that much on this. So I'm like, I've always thought a Sunday embargo, but obviously when you're working with a lot of media partners, it's like an absolute don't even discuss it. And I have a
Yeah,
feeling over the next year or two, that's going to really be a thing. So yeah,
yeah.
that's interesting. So Kingdom Hearts 4 and another high profile Sunday drop. Maybe we need to record a jingle for Sunday Watch in it. So we'll find out.
How would that go?
So yes, very good. So okay, so that's very very good. Thank you for bringing that to my attention. Kingdom Hearts 4. I didn't know about I didn't think of that real world aspect being the Marvel. So you've brought that up, and that's really good. I saw the Star Wars stuff though, and I was like, okay. So
Yeah, I think it could be interesting, but also I think if they go this route, it gives them because the head of the series he basically said, oh, Sora looks this way because he is in this land. Um, so it gives them the opportunity as well later in the game potentially to pull the rug and say when it switches back to traditional, if it switches back to traditional Kingdom
yeah.
Hearts, say, whoa, look how vibrant everything is. And I don't know.
Yeah, it's actually like there's a good opportunity to pivot if it's this early. Well, it didn't work out. So yeah, Kingdom Hearts 4, good. Next.
This is a short one, but I like Nintendo.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought I'd throw this one in there. So this should have been well, no, I was going to put it in Meals on Wheels, but I thought no, let's not pull out that jingle for this one.
All right.
Because they
My
technically
finger's
not.
literally on the button.
Do you want to just
Yep.
do an impromptu one?
Deals for meals, deals for meals, deals for meals, deals for meals.
Whoa. So what's been bought?
Whoa, impromptu segment. I like it. So Nintendo have brought some land. they've bought a piece of
Mother
land.
Earth has been acquired by Nintendo.
Yes, yeah. They are just that big. Nintendo have bought some land next to their current office. And they're building a new 12th floor, specifically 12th floor, new development center, which is said to be complete by 2027. This is, I wanted to mention it because it's always interesting when you see how Nintendo act versus their competitors or versus a similar style
Yes, you're
in the
dead right.
space.
Yep.
You have, which is what this segment's usually for. You have first parties acquiring studios recently, right? That's been quite a big theme throughout the start of this year and the end of last year.
Yeah.
Nintendo have made acquisitions here and there, but never anything that's like, whoa, oh my god, incredible. It's always something that is going to directly benefit them and their teams, or something that has worked well with them on specific properties in the past. And they may be snapped up by someone else, and that's when they'll make an acquisition. But it's also how Rare were a big part of Nintendo's heritage way back in the day.
Yeah.
Totally
Totally
right. And then Microsoft came and said, "We're going to buy you," and they did. And anyway, I digress. Let's not talk about Rare. Love them. But essentially, Nintendo they very rarely make these large acquisitions of other studios. And I think recently, and for some time actually, it's been said that they want to focus on their internal teams. Rather than buying people that may not share the same values and ethos and things, they want to build their teams up internally. And I think, to build a whole new 12th floor building, something is clearly going right there. There's an evolution going on within. I've had this conversation with people before, but if you look at, let's say the legendary superstar Miyamoto, Shigeru Miyamoto, he is one man. Who is getting older with time, as we all do. And I remember this must have been about 15 years ago. There was about 15 years ago. Right. There was this thing where he was, he mentioned offhand contemplating his retirement and what that would mean. But also, training people himself to think like him, because he isn't always going to be able to direct things in the same way. And I think if you look back at the last 5-10 years of Nintendo, you've seen those people come through. You got Eiji Aonuma, who is handling the direction of Zelda. However, you got Fujibayashi, who is actually the more intrinsically involved in the games now. And then you got the Splatoon team and all these people that have been rising up, that are developing a name for themselves. And Miyamoto's happily in the backseat saying, "I'm making a Mario movie in a theme park. What do you think about that?"
Yeah.
While everyone else is making games, it's like, it makes sense though, because it's it takes a lot to train someone to think at that level and put the trust in to carry out your thinking, I guess.
It can't just end at hiring them, can it?
Yeah.
So there needs to be, there's a whole like boot camp, I guess, to get that.
It's like Takeshi's Castle.
Exactly. 12 floors now. Yeah, like the Raid.
So great film.
Yeah,
great film.
Thank you very much. So like it's this is great, and it's good to see. Basically, it means there's going to be a lot of opportunity for new developers under the wing of some of the veterans to be close enough to probably get that sort of mentor protege relationship, which is a hugely powerful tool to have. And I think it's having it right there is very, very good, rather than like these acquisitions. You're buying somebody from Malmo, Sweden, but you're still based in Santa Monica or whatever. Like it's but it's right there on the premises to be that's it's a clever thing. Yeah, you're right.
It's clever as well, because if you think about it, a lot of the success of Nintendo is, if you think about Nintendo, people will straight away say, "Hey, Shigeru Miyamoto, the father of Mario, the father of Zelda, the plucker of Pikmin."
Very good.
What a title. Yeah. But and he is respectfully a poster child for
Yeah.
Nintendo, right? He is Nintendo royalty, and people like to see him from time to time. It's the same for EGA Enuma as well. Um, but I think for them to be in a position where they have trained people to their level,
Mm.
and for them to be able to get on with their job without that distraction and
Yeah.
pressure of people knowing their names and things like that, it's a wonderful strategy, in
Yeah.
my opinion.
Yeah.
Because it does leave off the distractions, it leaves off the pressure. You're making the games and experiences just based on the intuition as opposed to the external pressures.
Yeah.
So
No, that's really interesting, and yeah, it'll be a story in a few years, like you know what I mean, when we see what happens with that land, I guess you know what I mean. But
yeah,
the fact that no, very very good. So that's the Nintendo news of the week because Nintendo they keep it busy, but there's something interesting up next that I'd love to hear you tell me. So I know what it is. So
yeah,
give
you
me
know
a
what
hint.
you can see.
Yeah, I
You
can
can
see.
see into my mind. So Star Wars, Lego Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga has been crowned the UK's biggest Lego launch ever,
Yeah. Okay.
outperforming the highest record holder, which was Lego Indiana Jones before that. Which, if I'm honest, I completely forgot there was a Lego Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
Um,
Me too.
but
Mhm.
I, I, I put this on there because I wanted to see what you thought about it. But I know, because we spoke about this before we started
Wow.
recording, that you have downloaded it to play on your lunch break.
I have, yeah, yeah. So I've
Yeah,
never bought a Lego game at launch. In fact, I've only ever bought one Lego game full stop. And I bought the Lego Harry Potter collection on the
sure.
Nintendo Switch, which was about 8 years after it launched. But I mean, it came out on Switch, but
Yeah,
it was an 8-year-old game at that point, so it was very cheap.
yeah,
And I was quite interested in I don't know, like I was quite surprised that they managed to fit so much content in these games. Actually, a friend I went to school with, um, he works on these games full time, and I still never speak about these Lego games. Like I don't, I think that they head up a lot of the development in Manchester in the UK, to be honest. So there's a lot of big stuff going on there. But yeah, I'm not. Do you want to know the worst bit? This is putting myself out here a little
right,
bit, but
do it.
I'm not a huge fan of Star Wars. I'm not. I like it, but like I'm just not that into. Like I'm, so when I was growing up, it was Lord of the Rings or Star Wars, and I'm like, I'm wizards all day, basically.
Yeah,
I know that the Jedi is basically space wizards, but you know that their means of doing their magic and that is all a little bit too high tech for me. So I'm more of a Gandalf man, if you know what I mean. But I think now here's the real sin. Okay, this is the cardinal sin. I have seen Star Wars Episode 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 8, 9. I have never
what?
seen 5 or 6.
Why?
Well, there's a reason why. Here it is. When I was younger, when I was about
Yeah,
9, the first film came out in it. So I watched 1, 2, and 3. And then I was interested, so I watched 4. But then I've never really caught them. Like, it's kind of before streaming service and stuff. I didn't have one. And then by the time like those things were available, Star Wars still wasn't on like Netflix or anything like that. And it's a sort of thing that you catch on like ITV. But I've always been
yeah,
into like watching, YouTube or specific things. But it's like it's so in the meta. It's so into the pop culture meta. I know exactly what happens.
yeah.
Emperor, Force Lightning, Luke, I am your father, whatever. Blah blah blah. That, like I know it. I know the cast of characters. I know because it's been parodied, riffed on. But I've never sat down, and I've watched clips here and there. I've never sat down and watched 5 and 6. Isn't that a bit of a shocking revelation for this? Hopefully, this isn't a bit they clip
Yeah,
and put on social again, because it's just
yeah.
at this point it's just character assassination. But
Sadness.
and then obviously I watched the new ones when they came out. I've watched The Mandalorian. I've even watched Clone Wars, but not
Mm,
5 and 6. I think they're on Disney Plus, so maybe I should
they
rectify that
are.
immediately.
Yeah,
Yeah, isn't that a weird thing?
it
You know,
is weird. I love Star Wars as a kid. Genuinely, I
right?
was all about Star Wars before before episode 1 came out, I remember in my youth, my aunt would not make me. Sorry, it wasn't
Yeah.
wasn't that sort of situation. She would let me watch the films, and I think I remember for some reason they were showing A New Hope, which is number 4 in the cinema, and I went to see that with my cousin and my brother and my aunt, and I remember coming out and being like, "Wow,
Yeah.
wow, wow, wow,
Right.
wow, wow,
Right.
wow!"
Right.
And then she was like, "Oh, and then there's The Empire Strikes Back," and I'm like, "There's more? There's more?
Yeah.
I must consume." And I did, and I honestly loved it. The prequels, I appreciate more now. I enjoyed them. I think I watched the prequels, so 1, 2, and 3. I was at the right age to consume them. So I wasn't bothered by Jar Jar or any of that. I was like, hey, young Obi-Wan Kenobi, really cool fast lightsaber battles. Not seen that before. I was there for it. 7, 8, 9. I appreciated the marketing campaigns more than the films themselves.
Yeah. Yeah. That's exactly it.
Because every time I got hit in the nostalgia and the marketing raised interesting questions, but the films weren't conceived with a full vision in mind, so nothing could really play out,
Yeah,
which is a shame.
that was the thing, isn't it? And I think that's going to be well documented in years to come. That there was a lot of handover in terms of the trilogy being done by different directors and stuff. I remember watching the first one, and just before I watched by the first one I mean the 7th.
Oh, the first 7. Yeah.
Yeah.
The Force
That's
Awakens.
so confusing. So before I watched The Force Awakens, I watched number 4, which is the first ever Star Wars movie. And they are very similar. I watched them the same day.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my gosh. But look, you know what?
We treaded some ground there.
Yeah, really. And it was like kind of like it's like now that's what I call Star Wars, basically. That so and then there's a lot of fan service, and there's an age at the moment where I'm very cynical towards this sort of thing. Like, so I try to not like, I don't get like the Lord of the Rings. I just on about it. That Lord of the Rings TV show coming up.
Oh yeah.
Good luck. You know what I mean? Good luck to them.
Yeah.
But so anyway, back to the games. The reason I know Star Wars through the games because Knights of the Old Republic, one of the best games I ever played, one of the first ever RPGs that I played outside of Japan, basically, outside of the Final Fantasy series and Pokemon, that I was like so invested in. Obviously, that's like the prototype of Mass Effect. Mass Effect is basically Knights of the Old Republic, but there was the Episode 1 games, and it's iconic.
Jedi Power Battles as well.
Yeah, it's Star Wars is so iconic. Even now, even like the little BB-8s and like they've got like Baby Yoda, the child, is iconic. Right. They managed to do it, and every time you think they can't do it, they do it. And I love that about Star Wars, and I love that we're gonna get to see all of the iconography right there, all of the exciting stuff. One of the best games I played. It wasn't good when it came out, to be honest, but it's really good now. Is Star Wars Battlefront 2. Spent hours on that thing. Lovely, and they added free content all the way through the new movies. So it's brilliant. But I love even like the characters that are like kind of crap look dope, like General Grievous. Who cares? But he looks so cool. Like Darth Maul looks cool. So I'm looking for. So anyway, so I bought it because I can't wait to go through an abridged version of all the Star Wars games and play Lego at the same time. So it's my first ever Lego game on launch, and I've got to say, like, the hype sold at me. It was the people playing it who, they're a little bit older. They're not like 22-year-old influencers. This is the best thing ever, and they're having a lovely time, and I want to have a lovely time, and I think this is So everyone else seems to as well because it's the biggest thing, isn't it? It's the biggest Lego launch there's ever been. So
it's the biggest Lego launch, and I don't mean to put this on you before you're about to play it, but I'm not finding the joy in it that I thought I would. Like
okay. Yeah.
I should say this. So far, I've only played through the full front to back of episode 1.
Okay.
But the pacing of it is bizarre, and I feel like that where the joy for a lot of people is going to come is once all of those are completed, and then you go into the free play galaxy mode and you just explore, choose whichever characters you want, do all the things here and there. But going for episode 1, and I don't know if it's just because a lot doesn't really happen in that film. I got to the end and I was like, what was that? I laughed a few times. There's funny scenes in there, but I'm like, oh, it's a game. It just felt, it was very, these are the cliff notes and not necessarily.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I feel like it was a bit of a strong. I mean, not a, whatever the opposite of strong is weak. A bit of a weak first act, basically.
Yeah, but here's the thing, though. The game, when you go onto it, it defaults you to start from episode 4, which is the first one, A New Hope.
Right.
And then you can select. Basically, you can select to go from episode 1, and then play through 2 and 3 to unlock them, or you can start from episode 4 and then play to unlock episode 5 and 6, or you can start from The Force Awakens and then unlock 8 and 9.
Right.
And I went back. I was like, I want to play them in order.
Yeah, that's what I would do. Yep.
And yeah, it's just again, it's just it could just be because not a lot really happens in episode 1. But I was like, as a starting point, it's a bit flat.
Yeah. So,
but there's so much more action in 2 and 3 that might perk up a little bit. But I'm like, I'm walking around a landing platform as fake Queen Amidala to go to a Senate meeting. I walk around, I follow a man very slowly, get in a taxi, end of the place, watch a cutscene. Oh yeah, we're back to Naboo now to go and fight Darth Maul. I'm like, there's no point of that section other than to give me Queen Amidala and unlock the location. But
so there's a lot.
Anyway,
okay. Interesting.
But however, on the flip side, I will say you can tell a lot of love's gone into it. It's very charming. There are funny scenes, and it looks incredible. I'm playing on PS5, and it looks wonderful. It is like watching a Lego set come to life in front of you.
That's exactly it. Because for me, that's the thing that I haven't even seen gameplay of it. Right, I've just seen GIFs, and I'm like, I know what I'm in for. But I haven't played the Harry Potter since. I haven't played a Lego game since Harry Potter on the Switch from 2010. 12 years ago. So to see it on the PS5, I can't wait. So that's interesting. So yeah, thank you very much. Next we've got well, we spoke about this a tiny bit last week, but I wanted to know what you thought of it. So we'll have it again.
Okay. Oh man, I'm a bundle of joy this week. Similar to Star Wars, Sonic 2 the movie has released. You spoke about it with Steve last week.
Yeah.
We spoke about it the week before that, ahead of it coming out as well.
Absolutely, we did.
But it has had the biggest ever opening for a video game movie, making $71 million, which is incredible. And I also saw something that it's actually Jim Carrey's, out of any movie, his biggest opening movie too.
Well, that's good. That's good.
And he's just retired. He's just retired from acting. So it's like
out of a bang.
A third one will drag him out.
Yeah.
Drag him out of retirement. But I went to see it.
How was it?
I didn't like it.
No,
I didn't like it.
Okay.
And sorry, I say this as I like Sonic. I don't love Sonic. I like Sonic. I was very surprised by the first film, and I found it very enjoyable. I thought, hey, this is really good. How they blended everything together, the characterization of Sonic and Jim Carrey as Robotnik, as well as like, hey, this is cool, and they've done something a bit different, but you get all the familiar elements.
Yeah.
And as we said, you get that opening Green Hill Zone orchestral moment of the Paramount logo coming up. Worth it alone. The second one, I felt like it was 3 films thrown together.
Really?
It felt kind of disjointed, and it felt like it. Sorry, this is me comparing it to the first movie, and I'm not saying that I hate it. I'm just saying in comparison, it didn't hit me as well. But there were so many moments in it that was, here's a scenario. Hey, let's do a Family Guy cut to just a really popular song with a random scenario for 30 seconds, and it's like, oh, who let the dogs out? That song's not in the movie, but a popular song like that, some action happens, and then you're back into the film, and then that happens a few times, and it's like, it doesn't make sense.
Oh,
But
no.
kids will love it.
It's-
But also, here's the thing: I think I'm in the minority here because I've seen really rave reviews for it. A lot of my friends tell me that I'm wrong. I'm like, listen, I was also very, very tired when I watched it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
So maybe I wasn't, and a year older.
Yeah.
I'm old
not
now.
gonna go there again. Yeah,
No,
exactly.
yeah,
I need
did you
to
watch it?
this now. I need to watch this now based on what you said, because I've heard conflicting opinions from a few people and stuff like that. But I'm really I'm glad it went well for them. And yeah, based on what you're saying, it could be a bit of a shame that there was a lot of missteps. The first one, I don't think anyone had any hope for, because they got Sonic so wrong in the original design.
Yeah.
Remember, and it had to went back to the drawing board quite literally. So everyone was like, right, they've just tried to patch that on, but it ended up being so okay. I'll tell you what. Well, maybe next week we can wrap up the Sonic trilogy. So we know what Steve thinks, we know what Aaron thinks, but what do I think? Well, maybe we can find out next week. Maybe I'll tell everyone at PAX. Just
Yeah,
so you know.
yeah.
So you guys
Why,
know.
why don't we watch it the night before? We'll go to a cinema. And we'll
Yeah,
see if
we can watch it like before.
Yeah, I'm saying that I didn't enjoy it, but I'll watch it again. I'll go
Yeah,
get
maybe
some
you'll see a
popcorn.
different angle that you'll see this time. There might be
Yeah, maybe
a
I'll
super
be
deep twist.
more awake.
Yeah, exactly. It could be that. So look, thank you very much. There's one last bit of news before we go on and talk to Angry Demon Studios, who are going to be telling us all about their freshly released, not squeezed, Gory Cuddly Carnage announcement, and yeah, dropping some sick lore. Again, that was a big surprise for me. They're going to be talking about horror inspirations, because that's something that it runs deep within the studio, and what it feels like to be free of the shackles of Norse mythology. But before that, let's give us
Interesting.
let's give them Before that, let's give them one last hit of news we've seen from the internet.
This was something that I honestly I saw this, and it's something that had skipped it skipped my vision, and I want to bring it up because I'm honestly I'm digging Elden Ring so much, and I know you've just platinumed it and you are absolutely in love with it.
Yep. That's it.
But there was a story that was released which showed someone had managed to access some elements of content from the game.
Right. Yeah.
Which essentially would have seen the player collecting the dreams of enemies that are sleeping. Because I personally, when I've been playing the game, the first time I noticed an enemy sleeping was an absolute giant, massive lobster. And I was like, oh, and it's just there, it's sleeping. There was a little group of 3 of them sleeping. I'm like, what's going on? But they were just sleeping. It was great. I took a little video. I haven't posted it, but so essentially, this content would have seen you going around sneakily stealing the dreams of your enemies as part of a side quest.
Interesting.
And it's I think it's quite interesting, to be honest.
Yeah, it is, because
especially it gives me hope that there may potentially be some DLC. Maybe that content wasn't quite correct at launch, and maybe that there may be DLC on the horizon or additional things to get you back into another playthrough. Not that you need another excuse.
Yeah, it's absolutely seems like the sort of thing that you'd find. So yeah, it's interesting because the the content was discovered by Lance McDonald, and between him and Zully the Witch, they find nearly every secret there's ever been in a Souls game. There was loads of unused bosses and assets from the Dark Souls 3 and Bloodborne, which we then saw in Elden Ring finally after all this time and things like that. And yeah, the idea with being as nice as I can to those who haven't completed the game yet, and being as respectful as possible. There is a lot of speculation about what the DLC might be about, and it's more than likely going to be based on Mikola, the brother of Malina, who slumbers. And so there's a lot about dreams and sleep or integral parts of the story as is, and a lot of open-ended questions regarding this one character who seems to be a really, really main character, but you don't get to see that much of them. So I think that's more likely than not going to be the DLC for it. Apart from Sekiro, which has been, and much to my dismay, because I really think that could have, there's so many open-ended, brilliant places that could have went. There's no DLC for that, but every other FromSoft game has had DLC, and they are one of the best examples of DLC ever. Like the Bloodborne Old Hunters DLC is widely considered that, and Blood and Wine, The Witcher 3's DLC is widely considered like the best DLC ever. But the Dark Souls 3 Ringed City DLC, Ashes of Ariandel. So Elden Ring DLC is gonna just really, because that's the thing when everyone says this is the what you want, isn't it? This is what you want as a developer. When someone says, "Oh, I've done Bloodborne, I loved it," and someone says, "Oh, but have you done the DLC?" That's like the real game.
Yeah,
that is surely.
Yeah, I'm very interested to see what they do with it. I'm still on my first playthrough. I've been playing for like 60 hours now. Like I haven't played a game for 60 hours this quickly before.
Yeah. I know what you mean.
Yeah, I mean 60 hours is always 60 hours, but in terms of a condensed,
yeah.
Because there is like a space in the middle of the map that is unused, and I think I saw someone the other day as part of the theater thing saying, "Hey, if you look at the intersecting points between the 4 towers, they intersect at the middle, and nothing really happens." To my knowledge, but also I think that there's like the 4 belfries that you can come across, and they have gates that warp you to random places. So that's an option in terms of here, go to another land. But the idea of if they didn't want to change the landscape too much and add extra things is, if you do go into the dreams of your enemies and they are the new play spaces, the new scenarios.
Exactly, and also very in with the From lore, of course. Bloodborne taking place inside the Hunter's dream, and then the old Hunters is a nightmare. So they did that exactly the same thing. So it's exactly the sort of thing that the windfish out here. So
that's exactly what I was going to say. I was like, and of course that harkens back to The Legend of Zelda.
There we go. That's it. We're getting in there. We got the Shining. So speaking of all things horror. This week, I caught up with Angry Demon Studios, the developers of Gory, Cuddly Carnage, which has just been announced very, very recently. You're able to play this if you're at PAX East, as well as checking out our live Wired Unplugged next week. But I'm going to leave it to them to explain why. There's a cat. There's a hoverboard. There's a lot of decapitated nose. I know what you're thinking. Cool. But why? Well, we'll find out now with the magical editing power of Juan Curtis. Click. We're going to transport ourselves. Get ready. We're getting in the port key, Aaron. Let's go.
I did just watch Harry Potter last night, actually.
Did you?
Sorry, Fantastic Beasts.
Oh, yeah. I was right, wasn't I?
You were right.
All right. Okay, Curtis.
Wired Unplugged.
Okay, here we are. Whoa, what a transition into the interview segment of the podcast with Angry Demon Studio. Well, John, Caroline, and William. I'm actually going to let you, dear viewer or listener, figure out who's who for the time being as we talk about Angry Demon Studio as an entity before we get on to personal introductions. So, John, Caroline, William, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
This interview segment. I hope that transportation was okay for you. And you're here because we've just had the very exciting announcement that Gory Cuddly Carnage is finally happening, coming out. It's here we are. And we are totally not recording this before the announcement. So we know, because of that, we know that it was accepted widely. People are going crazy about it. I can't believe it. It made mainstream news in Sweden. Like it's ridiculous.
So exciting.
Such hype.
I had to get a secret address and stuff,
Exactly. Yeah. John, Caroline, and William are portrayed by actors in this interview.
Exactly.
So
Oh man, if that was the case, I would want to be portrayed by like Dwayne the Rock Johnson. I think that would totally fit my physique.
that's
So similar.
That's very good. That set the bar very high as well. I think. Okay. All right. So congratulations, guys. Before we
Thank you.
talk a little bit more about yourselves and more about the studio behind Gory, it'll probably be best for you yourself to let the people know at home, those watching and listening. If you are listening, remember that this whole thing's on YouTube and there are real people attached to this, not just voices. How would you describe Gory?
That's awesome.
Cat, blood, and glitter.
Uh-huh. Okay. And
The short pitch, I'm really good at the short pitch.
Uh-huh.
It's a cat on a hoverboard slicing unicorns. So,
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
there we go.
There we go. Look at me acting surprised, like I
Sums
didn't
it
know.
up.
Wow.
Really?
Okay, so if you don't know, now you know, and you're probably going to the Steam page. All the links are in the bio and things like that. If you want to know, and
Oh right, yeah. We usually, dang, it's we've been so deep in development. Like way back, we used to like talk a lot about the game and stuff like that. But nowadays we're just making it. So it's like somebody asks, it's like, what's the elevator pitch? Like, what's the short description of the game? It's like, oh my god, code and 3D. It's like we're so
Yeah.
deep
I
into
haven't done
making
this
it
in
that,
ages.
Like, actually presenting it is so strange. So luckily William was like, he had his finger
got
on the
it.
trigger right
yeah,
away, so he got it.
exactly. That's it. Yeah, that's like typical development, isn't it? You get so deep in the details that you're just like, I don't know anymore. To be
No,
honest.
it's like,
No.
I can describe how the system works. Would that
I think
be
it's a
interesting?
cat.
yeah. In a way. So I guess like as soon as you find out that it's a fast-paced unicorn slaying skateboard hover experience, the next question I suppose most people would ask is like, who thought of this? So that's why I've brought you on. To answer for
yeah.
your crimes. No, I want to know.
Yeah. Well,
I'd like
that's
to know a little
fair.
bit more. So
That's a fair shot right there. I'd say like it was a very strange.
Interesting brainstorming.
Yeah, that pretty much covers it pretty well. With yeah, as Caroline said, it was kind of an interesting brainstorming.
right.
We've been making horror games. We've been doing these like super serious games for quite some time. With our 2 prior horror games. From there, we kind of wanted to do something where we could like creatively kind of stretch our wings a little bit, so to speak.
Have a bit fun.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it was fun making Absolov. It was really fun
True.
making Unforgiving, but it was kind of a narrow line to walk.
Right.
With making these games. Is like, for example, if we do music, for example, that's a perfect example. Is like it has to be good, but you can't notice it. If you notice the music when you play, it's gonna ruin the experience. It has to be there,
Exactly.
set the tension, set the ambiance, set the mood,
Yeah.
but you can't really notice it. That's kind of like that's the tight line we had to walk with our previous games, and we kind of wanted to make it not a line but a big freaking square. Just like so we could do whatever we wanted and not worrying about like, will it fit the universe and such things.
Right. And so for those that are unaware, both of your previous games are kind of fitting around an existing mythology or folklore, and there's a certain amount of respect that has to come alongside that. You can't
Absolutely.
I mean, you could probably
Absolutely.
put a hoverboard cat inside like Yggdrasil, but I don't think many people would appreciate it. So I guess that maybe in a word, it's restraint. There's a lot of that, like you're saying, with especially because you were producing horror games, so there's an atmosphere there, and there has to be a tension before a release. Whereas for this, it's just full release, like
Absolutely.
Yes.
Oh, absolutely. So it feels really good to have this game where everything is original, like original story. Like we don't have to you know, as you mentioned with mythology, we don't have to kind of respect the lore because it's our lore. We can do whatever the heck we want with it. Like I made you, I can do whatever I want with you.
Yeah.
Of course, it still has to be good, but you know, we can still do whatever we want with it.
And
And create creatures that isn't based on something that it just has to come from our own imagination. And it's fun to go a bit bananas with it.
well,
Finally.
I think that's the thing that a lot of people would say, and it's very exciting. In the sort of non-interview segment of the podcast, we mentioned that Wired are at PAX. In fact, both me and Aaron from the podcast are at PAX. We're speaking at the panel, and it's a place that people can actually play Gory. So if you're listening and you're at PAX, there's an opportunity to get some hands-on with the game. So just a little plug there.
I will be there as well.
Yeah, and William. There we go. Me and Aaron don't even need to show up now. William's got this. All right. Very good. Yeah. So Angry Demon Studio as a whole formed 5 years ago, right? 2017.
Yeah.
Can you just talk me through a little bit about how that decision was made? How you decided, like, we're really doing this. Let's form a studio, because that story is always super interesting, I think.
Everybody just woke up one night and we had the same dream. And we just went down to a spot, you know, where it was like a strange light beckoning us, and that's where we met. We had a greater calling.
We became demons.
I'm just kidding, but that would have been a really
that's good.
dope backstory, though. Yeah. Let's just roll with that.
Yeah.
But in all seriousness, like, we all met back in the university.
Okay.
We were all the same year of a game development program, and that's kind of where we met. We made some project games during our second year of university, and kind of took it from there. Like, to make a really, really long story short, it was like, wow, it's really fun making games. We have to make more, and we met through that course. After that, we made our first game at the same time. Like, we were simultaneously doing our bachelor's degree, and like our bachelor's thesis, and our first game, Unforgiving: A Northern Hymn. So we were kind of like
balancing it.
Yeah,
game development in school.
That was a doozy.
Oh my gosh! And do you find that, like, we kind of mentioned a little bit earlier, that there's quite a lot of, I don't want to say rules, but there's certainly a lot of easy to follow guidelines for making a horror experience. Do you think that helped, that being your first game, something that where, you know, you could use lighting in a specific way and tension and things like that? Did you find that was something that you kind of clung on to, or were you feeling fairly confident for your first title?
I'd say that our, like, personal love for the genre was the greatest asset in, you know, in making those kinds of games. We all pretty much had played all of the games. It's like, mention a horror game back in 2017, and we probably have played it. So we could derive from that like huge bank of knowledge and experience in just playing the games, to kind of translating that into gameplay ourselves.
Okay, wow.
I think you will learn a lot from any genre you're trying to, or you're making for a game. But horror, especially for sounds and stuff, is perfect to begin with.
Yeah, absolutely. I find that, especially in, you know, in the gaming sense, there's like a minimalism, I guess, to horror, which is really good, because you can see the opponent, like each component, for what it is. A perfect opportunity for me to segue this podcast once again into a discussion about horror movies, because I can't help myself, really. How inspired?
True horror lover.
Yeah. I have to really try. Every time I hear something spooky, I'm like, okay, don't make this about horror, but I'm going to. I'd like to know. I'd like to know. I guess I'll ask you all individually, really. Do you have any particular horror movie that, over the last maybe 20 years or something, that you found particularly inspiring? Maybe not your favorite, but maybe something that you thought, you know, when you're making these creative decisions, you think, I want it to be a bit like this, or, you know, I really like that bit in that. Is it anything particularly?
That's a great question. It's such a hard question.
I
Especially.
can answer right off the bat. My absolute favorite horror movie is The Thing from 1982, starring
Ah,
Kurt Russell.
Yeah.
That is an to me that's everything.
Yeah, that really is.
I have a
something.
real standard thing from the Insidious movies. You know, the violins going like woo.
Yeah, it's like if
Huge
they
inspiration.
feel like they're going out of control, like lifting off like a helicopter or something, right? There's something
Yeah,
very
yeah,
strange. about
exactly.
it. Yeah, okay.
I love that sound.
Okay, the thing is very nice and very sci-fi, I guess, but in a way it's also like super human. So there's that element to it, right? And that is all about tension. And
Oh yeah.
maybe the best ending of a movie ever, I think. The ending is the thing. Okay.
It's really good. But it's really interesting that you mentioned the horror thing with the minimalist, like the minimalistic kind of approach to it. Problem with like minimalism with everything, like if you decorate an apartment, if you make a painting and it's super minimalistic, if you do not execute on that one thing, that one particular thing,
Yeah.
well, it is going to be not very good.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if it's like for horror, it's like, okay, so everything relies on tension. We have nothing else. And if that tension breaks, there's nothing else to hang the gameplay
I
on.
think that's absolutely it, isn't it? Because there's obviously like the beautiful thing about horror as well is that it is always people doing more with less. I find that like a lot of people's debut horror movies are like just somebody being sad in an apartment until something amazing happens, and there's levels of that, or maybe when you get into the big time, it's Hereditary, where there's a lot of sad people in a house. But there's a lot of, especially like the art house stuff. There's been a lot of really cool like debut horror movies recently where you can see people making the most out of just the smallest sets and stuff like that. So that was really, really cool to see when I delved into the Angry Demon Studio back catalog, and I was like, okay. And like it's quite a lot of folklore as well. My favorite movie of all time, it's not even close, is the original, and I need to stress this, the original Wicker Man from 1973. That to me is the number one movie.
Have not seen, but will after this.
The Wicker Man, it's like one of the most important folk horror movies ever. It's like one of the Holy Trinity, like that Devil Rides Out and stuff like that. Yeah, Christopher Lee movie from the 70s, based on a book.
What, you didn't like the remake?
No. No way.
Come on, it was way better with Nicolas Cage.
Shouts out Nicolas Cage. Yeah. Absolutely.
Not the bees, not the bee.
Unbelievable. So that's a very nice storied build up to Gory then, because like you kind of mentioned already, it's like you guys have had the ability to just go absolutely wild, and as well, something very interesting is, and something very obvious is that you're having fun with it. Clearly, that's the thing about horror. Sometimes, like, it's very serious, and there's like like Marvel movies or whatever. They have like a quip or a joke every like 4 minutes and 36 seconds. It's super clinical, and I'm just too miserable for stuff like that. If I want to see a horror movie, I want it to be as miserable as possible. But
no comic relief then for you.
No, absolutely not. So, but when it's time to have fun. Good. And I wanted to ask how how much of a factor the sort of like, I know it's a hoverboard, but how important was the skating element for you? Because I grew up on horror, but I also grew up playing these Skate and Thrasher, Skate and Destroy and Tony Hawk. So is that an inspiration for you guys as well? Does it just happen to be because the mechanic is really cool?
It was actually like when it's this long story, just as Caroline mentioned before. It's this really strange brainstorming sessions and also trying to make things work.
The super original idea, I think, was skating with swords and skating, I think.
Yeah, something in that general vicinity. And then it was like, okay, so how do we make this into a mechanic, and how do we make it fun? How do we make it like usable to anybody?
It grew somehow.
Yeah, exactly. And
so
that's
it
kind
wasn't a clear thing from the beginning. It was something that grew with time.
Yeah.
It was tested.
Absolutely. So in the beginning, we were super duper inspired by all of the original skating games. Like it's like Street Skater and Skate and
Yeah.
Tony Hawk's and stuff like that. And of course, with hoverboarding, we have like Airblade.
Yeah.
S-
Yeah.
SSX.
But then we had the combat element as well, like not only grinding and jumping through hoops, but we also wanted to kill things, and that's kind of where it started to move more towards the traditional, the traditional
Hack and
slasher
slash.
hack and slash. Thank you, William.
Yeah.
Man, I was totally drawing blank on that. But yeah, it was like moving more and more towards the hack and slash genre, in terms of how to control the character.
And do you think that that's going to be one of the things that players look to do the most, is just building up massive combos, something that you get in, like, I don't know, Devil May Cry or Bayonetta or something like that? Is that something that you're hoping that you can see on Twitter when the game launches? People posting the biggest combo and things.
We just hope
Oh, hell
that
yeah.
people will have fun. Like
Yeah.
it needs to look like it's cool, it's fun, it's explosive, it's colorful, and you don't have to go for the combos. But if that's part of your interest, of course, that you will have the opportunity to do that. But if you're more of an explorer, or maybe you just want to know the story, you can do that as well and have fun.
I think what I personally want to see on Twitter is like really cool slow-mo shots.
Oh,
Hey,
heck
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that's the sort of thing that I think basically half of my Twitter feed since Elden Ring launched is just slow-mo gifs of people rolling under giant axes and stuff like that.
And that's really cool. And
death counter.
Caroline just touched upon a really, really, really cool thing that also were one of the, like, it's a really driving factor in just making the games, is that people are supposed to have fun. Gory Cuddly Carnage is supposed to be a fun game, a fun experience,
Yeah.
and that was like one of the things with our prior games. It's that the box, as I mentioned, is so narrow. The line is so narrow. Even when if we watch somebody play it on Twitch, and it's like, no, they didn't go through that perfectly. Oh, that scenario didn't turn out as perfectly as we thought. Oh, you missed that thing. Like they were looking away.
Yeah.
Like it was something that was supposed to be to walk past them and be scary. And they were like, oh, look at this rivet. I love this rivet. This is a really cool rivet. And it's like, oh, you're missing all the cool stuff.
And people's preferences to jump scares and not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But with Gory, it's gonna be like, when we watched people play it, it's like, oh, that's not how we intended it to be played, but you're having fun with it, right? And I'm like, yeah, it's great. Oh, brilliant.
Yeah.
Mission accomplished. As long as you're having, we don't care that you do anything in a specific way. If you miss anything, as long as you're having fun with it, that's like the main objective.
Yeah, and that's something I think that, you're quite right. I think a lot of games are super cinematic these days, especially Western developed games, and they can be a lot of cool things. They can
They
be
need flex.
They can be really cool. They can be powerful, but a lot of games aren't made to just be fun, like to let off steam and things like that. And I think a lot of games in like the PlayStation 2 era, Airblade specifically, that you just mentioned that, and I was like, oh yeah. Like the games that you play for 15 minutes to just go and have fun, rather than, like, I don't know, jumping into, I don't know, The Last of Us, which is a lot of good things. Maybe fun sometimes, but I don't think people would use that word to describe it. Maybe when they finish The Last of Us, for example, you wouldn't say, God, that was fun. You'd say, I need to sit down. So it's really
take hundreds of choices.
Exactly. So can you just give us a little bit of insight, if you don't mind, into the sort of cast of characters in Gory then? Because there's obviously an insane hoverboard, there's AI, and there's all sorts of craziness. So why don't you do a little brief intro of our roster of characters, to be honest, so we can get people ready for the story.
Oh my! Of course, we have the main character, Gory, and that's a cat. That enough said on the subject. The
He
main
is seriously
character
a cat.
is a badass cat.
Yeah.
And then there's Then there's Frank, the kind of insane, fun-loving hoverboard that just wants to kill things. There's Chip, the kind of depressed AI. All of the characters, all of the three main characters from the game are like toy prototypes made by a company that we call Cool Toys. Yeah,
Very cool.
and they kind of like have this. Okay, we're gonna make the most extreme toy. We got inspired by all of the toys that have been banned in real life, like My First Glass Blowing Studio, Slip and Slides, Lawn Darts. The things where we kind of where people are like, how could you think of such a thing? And it's like, well, lawn darts was a thing. It's like, oh, hey kids, this giant iron spike, you should throw this up in the air.
Oh,
Above
See
your
where it
head.
lands.
Yeah, to see where it lands. And it's like,
Surprise.
yeah, right. And the glass blowing studio is like, hey kids, this 1500 degrees Celsius oven, go nuts. It's gonna be a fun loving experience. So we kind of got inspired by that, and we were like, all right, so what if we push what if we push lawn darts one step further, and we make actual living creatures? That's what Gory is. So Gory is a cat, but it's not really a cat. He's a synthetic cat kind of thing.
Ultimate pet.
Ultra pets, exactly. And then there's Frank, which also is like, oh, come on, every kid wants a hoverboard. And it's like, oh, hey, kids, it extends knives. And you can just cut these cardboard cutouts, right? Nothing else, right, kids? Right? And then it's Chip. Chip was supposed to be like a friend that you can plug into different things. So it's like, okay, so you have the Chip unit, and you can buy a bike and you put Chip in that, and you can buy something else and you put Chip in that. Problem is that he turned out sentient, and that made him sad, and he's just sad from there, kind of.
It's really interesting that you mention inspiration from some very dangerous toys, because I've been very quickly searching lawn darts. Can I just say the first question is, are lawn darts illegal?
I'm fairly certain they got banned in the US, right?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, they did. And I quote, the severe danger that they presented.
That's Frank.
That is Frank.
It gets worse. This ban had to be reissued in 1997, and people were urged to destroy the game.
Oh my god!
Yeah, there we go. So that's
shit.
very, very interesting. And yeah, there's a lot of violence in toys. As people notice, and it's because it just seems really cool to kids. So the idea of this hoverboarding cat, there is a very sensible logic to having this sort of ragtag misfit group of rejected toy concepts band together. Actually, so there's quietly already a pretty interesting story, and I want to know, am I going to see more of these things? And
oh, absolutely. Every single thing that we have in the game is either a rejected toy and like it never hit the market, or it's a toy that did hit the market and then they mutated during I think we call it mutation day. It's like the kind of the day of days kind of thing. It's like when the earth got taken over by evil, mutated, horrible, the thing like toys.
Spread the rainbow rabies.
Oh yeah, exactly. It's the rainbow rabies. The rainbow rabies is the disease or the mutagen that kind of transfers from like between toys and kind of mutates them.
That's very, very, very interesting, and a very nice bit of extra information to share. Just after we've revealed this, so there'll be more information about the launch of Gory as we progress through the year. I'd like to say a huge thanks, guys, for just joining me and saying this. I'll give you the floor for just 1 more minute. Is there anything that you'd like to let the people at home know before we leave them to enjoy their journey home, or what else do people do when they're having a podcast? Have a bath? make some food or whatever. Any final message?
Yeah, I have one.
Mhm.
Please give Gori a chance. Please try the demo or the game wherever you can get your hands on it, and just play it. Just give it a chance and have fun with it. You will fall in love.
Absolutely. Gory Cuddly Carnage is a game you're supposed to have fun with.
Heck yeah.
Please have fun with it. Please.
And thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Of course.
Yeah,
No,
thank you.
no problem.
Wired Unplugged.
Angry Demon Studios there. So the lore. There's lore, the toys, lawn darts. Who thought that was a good idea? I thought that was... It's not that I didn't trust them. I just met them. But I was like, how is what you're saying right? Did they really sell giant javelins that a kid had to throw into the air and see where they land, made out of steel? Yeah,
Quite
I was.
dangerous.
If you go back during that bit, you can see me googling it, and you can watch my eyes widen as I discover that they are 100% right. So I love that was a big inspiration, was banned children's toys. That was like,
because you can go any route with that as well. Because way back in the day as well, there were the science kits that were for kids, and some of them had like nuclear materials in them and stuff. And it's like,
yeah. Honestly,
great.
Everyone
Go
listening
for
to
it,
this,
kids.
just Google banned kids toys, and you're going to be like, what the? It was like a blacksmith kit in the 40s that came with this thing that you rub together, and it makes this like super hot magma sort of stuff. Unbelievable.
What?
It's like, it's like some explosives. So
Oh, God.
anyway, it was a really fun interview, and what a lovely bunch of people. So thank you very much for listening. Next week we're doing this live in the United States.
In Boston.
So
Oh,
it's
God.
kind of crazy. So yeah, shouts out to the whole gang. Shouts out Gloria Gaynor, Helen Mirren, everybody. If you want to email, you can do so wired at wait, no, not wired. Unplugged at wiredproductions.com. God, you'd think I would have said that enough by now. And it's wired P for perfection. Aaron, it's great to have you back. Thank you, everybody, for listening, and we will see you on the other side. Goodbye. Bye-bye.
Subscribe.
Wired Unplugged.